Hi everyone, welcome to Build in Public with Jahid. Today I'm gonna build a dating app, but also I'm gonna talk about how to validate your business app idea. Before building, you need to actually validate if your idea is worth building or not. So let's build the app, but also let's talk about how to validate your business app idea. So please take your computer and also start building while I'm doing, or also start thinking about how to validate your business app idea. So let's just start building. Perfect. So we're at Newly. I'm gonna, log in and then we're gonna build the app which I want. So let's build a dating app. And why I'm building a dating app is that because dating apps are one of the most built app ideas ever across all the platforms, all the tools. Their first idea is actually mainly to build a dating app because we all have different, preferences in who to date, who to meet, who to have friends. So that's why we are actually thinking about, okay, maybe I'm the one who can actually build the right dating app for myself and also for others. So dating app idea is like super kind of populated, and everyone wants to build it. So let's actually build a simple dating app idea, and then we'll talk about how to validate your idea before building a dating app or anything else. So let's just start. We say build a dating app which matches expats in the country. Okay, matches expats for dating, friendship, and co-working. Let's give it a go. So we just write this simple prompt to Newly, and then actually Newly is gonna build it for us. So nice. Okay, let's just start chat with Newly. So here the Newly agent, the backend and the front end work together to actually build our working app, our more like working mobile app. So here we can see all the settings being done, and then we can actually see what's happening and also can follow the steps. Of course, we can see the code here if you want to see. And something that I really like about Newly is that you actually can see the code, what's happening, and also you have the ownership of the code. And this is something that's very important, if you want to build and scale your app idea later on. So you actually own the code and you can actually update the code later on. So of course, here it's working. And here it's asking questions. Do you want to have login? Of course, we want to have login. Yes. So let's answer this question. So actually, Newly is asking these questions to actually understand better what you want to build and then actually start building it for you. So let's see how it works. Nice. So and let me know if you have any app idea that you want me to build, or if you want to come and build with me here. Let me know. I'm happy to build. So we're gonna talk about how to validate in a few seconds, because when you're building something, it's so important to actually know whether this idea will work out. Whether you will have users for this idea, because you're spending your time anyways. So imagine if you're building something and you'll spend years on that app idea, you actually better understand whether you're building something valuable. You're actually building something that it's needed in the market, but also there are people, users who actually will use it. So that's why I think it's better to actually have the validation step there to make sure that you're not wasting your time on an idea which will not have lots of users in the future. So I think that's something that lots of founders, they get it wrong, and also they do very biased validation because we all like our ideas, we love them. That's why we don't want to find reasons for not doing that idea or kind of pursuing to build that idea. But we have to be unbiased and also think about how actually it works. We have to just be mindful of the facts that are there, and then yeah, that's gonna be it. So actually, so Newly is working. So this is amazing. So this is working, and then I will see how it goes. Perfect. So let's talk about validation. So as I said, validation is one of the most important part of building a mobile app, a business, a startup, anything that like you want. Actually, you just need to know whether this idea is valid. If this idea is actually interesting for others to use. There's of course question between do you want to build it or validate it first. I think here, there's a bit of dilemma because of vibe coding tools like Newly and other ones, because it's cheaper to build something and then also like give it to the users, but it's still, you have to do validation while you're building, or you actually like need to do it before because you don't want to spend your time on building something which will not have lots of users. So I think the main questions, which actually I'm gonna ask myself when I'm building an app idea is that who is going to buy this app? You know, who's gonna be the users? And how many of them will be out there? So is it just me, like like using this app, or is it my parents? Is it my family? Is it my friends? So you have to like you need to know what's the size of the problem. Who's gonna buy this app, and then of course, the main question here is also like, what problem are you solving? So is it your personal problem? Is it only just like one person problem? The dating app idea, why we're building it, is that everyone has opinion on how to build a dating app for themselves because they know themselves better. So that's why, for example, if they don't find match online, they're saying, "Oh my god, this platform doesn't work." But to be honest, maybe for example, like dating is quite, like tricky, but also very hyper personalized, thing or activity, whatever you call it. So that's why it's super hard to build something that actually works for everyone. That's why lots of people want to build a dating app, themselves as well. So it's actually going to solve their problem. But you need to know that it's going to solve only my problem or other like also other people's problem. So you actually need to see the bigger picture. Who's like like whose else is kind of problem are gonna they solve with this product or solution. And of course, like you need to ask questions about, why, how, what, and all these things. So you actually need to dig deeper about the problem you're solving and also the people that you're serving, so that like you actually know that it's worth building before you commit building anything. Just here, you're actually saving yourself time, but also sometimes when you're doing the validation, your users, like your potential users, are gonna tell you actually what to build and how to build it. Because you have a picture of what you want to build. But actually, like when you are talking to a user, they're giving you, much better picture on how they might use that product. They actually educate you about what to build, even if you have some ideas already for that. The main questions, which we also just talked a bit earlier now, is that we have, four questions like we have to answer before building anything. What is the problem you're solving? How big is it? But also, it's important to actually put a number for how big a problem is, because once you actually define the problem with a value of a dollar value, or for example, like any currency value, you actually see how big of a market it is. So is it like $1, $10, 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, type of problem? So you actually need to know how big of a problem you're solving, and then that actually tells you that how much you will earn with your business in the future. And of course, here we just need to know what's the ideal solution. What's actually kind of like what can be the best solution for this problem and how it's going to solve it. But the most important thing is that what is a great product for that solution and problem? As I said, when you're talking to your users, your potential users, they're gonna tell you and educate you about what they actually want. So like like what product they like wanna see or kind of like use. So here I think it's important to know what is a great product. Is it a mobile app? Is it a web app? Is it a software? Is it an engine, agent? Is it just a simple chatbot? I think now lots of businesses, they're building mobile apps because we are living with our mobile phones. That's why, for example, every app lives on the phone. But to be honest, you just like need to understand where your users are most spending their time. And so is it like phone, computer, or whatever tool it is? So just need to know what is that great product, which is called product market fit. If the product is fitting the market and the problem understood, the solution. And of course, the next question is that who is this for? So knowing your users helps you to design, build the product much better, but also, like to position your product in a way much more efficient way. And there's a saying is that before serving everyone, like you have to serve someone. So of course we want to, to build a unicorn, 1 billion type of ideas, like become $1 trillion company and all these things. We just have to become, like realistic to see, okay, who are we going to focus first? Like we just have to need to find a niche customer or user, and then we can actually scale that to a broader market. But we just need to focus on serving someone first. Then we just need to serve everyone. So validation, how to validate your business app ideas. There are several methods, but these are the ones which actually I have done it myself. So I'm, more educated on these ones. The simple and the most common one is that everyone is doing surveys. I think in the past, surveys were very common. You actually, like have a kind of, like a questionnaire, and you're just asking people on just to fill in with those answers, which are predefined answers. So why the surveys are not good ideas, just from my experience, is that because you are giving the respondents predefined answers. So you're asking questions, you're giving the answers, and then they just actually need to choose from those answers. So here you're actually gathering biased information or details about your app idea. So this doesn't give you a lot of good and new insights about your idea. So this validation might be biased and actually might just give you what makes you happy. And that's why, for example, when I did a survey, it didn't give me lots of information, but also when I wanted to go deeper, I just couldn't, like, because I mean, because that's it, like, so like they only answer, what's there, and that's it. Like they don't give you more context, or for example, more explanation about why they select this option A or B or C or D. So I think the surveys are good, you can do it, but I wouldn't do it myself because it's just not working, and I think it just like gives you, very biased answers. But also people, they don't have time for doing surveys, to be honest. More and more actually people are just lazy to, like, fill in the surveys, and that's why, most of the people that is filling surveys, they actually don't pay attention. They are just, like, randomly select, the options. Even if you just go through the answers, you see that, for example, there are lots of, opposite or, for example, conflicting, answers, because people are not actually paying attention to what they're answering. So that's why, it actually just doesn't work. Customer interview is very important, and this is actually something that I really like it. This is my preferred, kind of like preferred one, because here you're actually like when you're talking to a potential user or an expert, you actually see the context. You also, can see their emotions, their expressions, their feelings, but also you actually can ask follow-up questions. So for you, actually, you can actually ask follow-up questions to know more about why this person said this. What's the reason behind it? And also, for example, for interviews, you're digging deeper on the topic, but please don't pitch your app idea at all, or kind of your business idea at all, because you just want to, actually have unfiltered, unbiased like discussions with your interviewee. Because if you're pitching your app idea first, you're going to answer the questions something that you actually want to hear. So you don't want, make them say something that you want to hear. You just want to just talk to them, that need to know what they're actually going to tell you honestly, and kind of like give you a very good answers and help you out actually with building. And also for the customer interviews, I would really, have three main questions prepared. I mean, just for overall idea. So this, like, three questions should be the questions which will actually decide if you're gonna build this app idea or not. So these are, the most important questions about to either build or not build your app idea. And you actually want to find answers to those questions when you're talking to people, to potential users, and try, like, just like, please, don't give, the interviewee, directions, because if you give them directions, then they will actually answer questions that you like or just makes you happy. And also there's the other ways that, like, you build landing pages, and actually you market that, and then you see how many people are actually visiting the website. Like, what's the traffic on the website, and this also, determine some numbers, like, okay, what's the demand? So if it's 10,000 people, clicking on the website, so maybe, for example, half of them are interested to buy the product, like, 5K or 5,000 people. And like one of our user, he's building a dating app here, and it's an invite-only dating app, and it's for South Africans. So he actually, built a landing page, and then he got, thousands of people, interested and, like, registered. So he actually saw that, okay, people are actually interested in South Africa for this dating app, so that's why he's building the app now. But he actually built the website first, the landing page, to see how many people actually come and click this website and show their interest and fill in here. So you can also actually have, a form where people fill in, and actually, like, to ask for early access once the app is live. And the other one is, like, the beta launch. So actually, now with vibe coding tools, with Newly and other tools, you can actually build, the first version of your app super fast. You actually can launch, early, and then kind of give access to 5-10 people, to test it out, how it's actually working, is it working, and what's their experience and what they would like to see improved there. And then the other one is that actually, like, Reddit and LinkedIn. So I think, like, Reddit is super great, So I think we can just, like, go around and then ask people in different subreddits for their opinions. I do use, Show Me Your SaaS as like subreddit a lot. Because, it's actually, like, dedicated for apps. And then you can also, use App Viral, building apps, app developers, vibe coding, no code, all the subreddits, and ask their opinions. That, hey, I'm building this app idea. What's your opinion? People on Reddit are very honest, and sometimes they might be too honest and very negative. So you should actually filter out what's too negative, what's too rude, but also, like, what's very honest and good feedback for you. And also, of course, you can ask, your network, your friends on LinkedIn about their opinions. But Reddit is, more unbiased, because they don't know who you are, and they're actually can be brutally honest with you about your idea. And then Google search, I think Google, because people are searching, a lot of, ideas or solutions or products. So Google actually can give you a nice picture of what people are searching, what people are looking for. So you actually can build something to match those searches. The base tool, that we use is Ahrefs. So actually, you can actually see what's the number of, for example, how many people search dating app, you know, in South Africa? Is it 1,000 people per day? It's 10,000 people per day, or 1 million people? So the more people searches, the meaning, for example, there's a demand to meet. Like there's no app idea to actually match this app, this demand. So people are searching, but there is no product. So you can actually build something to match this, and also you can do it with help of ACO, so search engine optimization. You just need to match the Google search and pop up first and second to be able to actually people click on your website or app. And of course, can also find out Google trends, like what are actually like trending, the keywords and all these things, so you can actually see what's the most trending words, and how to build something for that trending word for that month or that year. So yeah, you can actually also see the Google search stuff here. So this is how I would do a validation of my business app idea. But of course, there are other ways and methods. You can actually let me know if you find a different one. But the most important point is that you need to talk to your potential users to understand what's their problem and how you can solve it better, but also if there's a market at all for this app idea. We all love our ideas, it's close to our hearts, but to be honest, we just have to be honest with ourselves. Do we want to spend our time, building something that there will be no market, or how many people will actually be there to use our app? So do the proper validation, and then you can actually start building. And of course, you can also build while you're doing the validation, but don't skip validation. Don't skip talking to your users. Don't skip getting the truths and facts checked, and then start building and pushing for your idea. Perfect. So our app is ready. Let's try it out and see how it works. So this is our homepage, the sign up page. Let's try to log in with Google. Perfect. So here we are in the discovery. It's empty now, but we can see friends, co-working, dating. Like here we can see our matches when we have, and here we can actually do some meetups. We can actually insert and then create a meetup ourselves. And of course, we can also see our profile. And yeah, so this is quite a simple app that we have built, and we just wanted to show you how to actually build. But the main idea was that you have to validate your app idea, and of course this app needs some time to actually work and then make it much nicer. So I will keep working on this app idea because I want to launch and then see how it works. And of course, once I have the app ready, then actually I can go and deploy the app to App Store and Play Store, or actually I can use the app in my local phone on APK file if I have Android. But also I can just use it and push it to App Store and Play Store. So thank you so much for watching, and I wish you all the best. And please go validate your business app idea, and also build amazing apps that you want or anything, but validate it and then see how big of a market it is, and also that you're actually spending your time on something valuable. So all the best with building, and see you very soon with another content. Bye bye. Take care.